percents we go. You know, this is the same exact slide as the other day. We're going to go over these 3 questions, and hopefully you get them all right. You may have gotten them all right the other day. If not, I want to make sure we get them all right today. I gave you the percent proportion, which is really important to know. Obviously, you take these tests and quizzes at home, so it's kind of like you got a formula sheet all the time. I don't want to belabor why this is true. I talked to you a lot about that before. I'll tell you what, every once in a while, I've tried to listen to some political talk on the radio, be it right or left, it doesn't matter. And these commentators just say the same things over and over and over again. And I get really mad because I think that they're treating me like I don't have a brain or I have no sense of intellect. And I'm like, you listen, you don't tell me once, maybe 2 or 3 times to reinforce the point. I don't need to hear it every time I turn on the radio. I noticed this a long time ago, so I don't bother listening to it much anymore, almost never. It's got to be like some big earth-shaking thing for me to actually turn it on. And I don't want to give you the same explanation I've given you at least 2 or 3 other times this year. I'm done explaining why this is because I don't want to insult your intelligence. You're bright enough to know this stuff. Percent over 100 equals part over whole. Is generally indicates part and of indicates whole. You're taking these tests and quizzes at home. So you absolutely have a formula sheet. It's anything you want to look at to review while you're taking the work. So you don't have to memorize this per se. Just know where to access it when you are being assessed. Okay, I mentioned these are the 3 exact questions you did the other day. Let's nail them. Ready? One at a time. First, what is 6% of 300? Stop and start. Go! All right, so clearly the what is connected to the is. The 6 and the percent are together. 6%. What is 6% of 300? So in the of place goes to 300. The 6 in the percent, I cross multiply. And I get 100 n equals 1800. I divide by 100 and I get, ding, 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 n is 18. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. Like I mentioned, we did the same 3 problems the other day. If you had an issue with this, go back and rewatch this one or the other explanation. I was a little more thorough in the other explanation. See what you come up with. 15% of what number is 6? Begin. There's your proportion. 15 goes in the percent place of, it says of what number? So the n has to go into the of place and is 6. So 6 goes in the upper right. Okay, next step, cross multiply. I get 600, right? This 100 times 6 equals 15 times n, 15n. Dividing by 15, n is equal to 40. Yes, the fancy mathematical terminology for cross multiplying is the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. That's great. We can go across multiply here. All right, last one. What percent of 350 is 70? Stop and start. Begin. That was my dog snoring. Okay, n over 100 equals 70 over 350. Why? Because it says what percent. So that means the n has to go in the percent place. Of 350, that's in the bottom, is 70. 70 goes in the top. Cross multiply as usual. 350n equals 70,000. Okay, and that should be 7,000, not 70,000. There's an extra 0 there. It should be 7,000. Dividing by 350, and I get 20 because 70 times 100 is 7,000. I don't know why there's an extra 0 there, but when you do the division without the extra 0, you definitely come up with 20 as your correct answer. Another way to think of 20% is it's 1/5, okay? And the fifth of 350 is 70. All right, so there's your basic one-step type percent problems without a whole bunch of words thrown in. Speaking of words, good old Willie Shakespeare was a master of words. He even took this one step further, and to be or not to be, that is the question. But we can always say A and not A. That is the question. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that the percent of things that are A and the percent of things that are not A always add up to 100%. So the classic example is rain. If the probability that it's going to rain is 20%, then the probability it's not going to rain is 80%. If the probability a baseball batter gets a base hit is 30%, then the probability that he does not get a hit is 70%. Okay? So the percent of something happening and then the percent of it not happening always has to add up to 100% because you're either A or not A. There's nothing in between. So in a group of children, 78% can swim. What percentage can't swim? Well, 22%, because 78 plus 22 is 100, or you can look at it as 100 minus 78. Okay. Next one, Toronto FC have won 40, I don't have my glasses on, 45% of their games and lost 42% of their games. What percent have they tied? Now you need to keep in mind that for the purposes of this, winning, losing, and tying add up to 100%. 13%, because 42 and 44 add up to 87, and then you got to add 13 to get to 100. Or you could do 100 minus the 45 minus the 42. Next question. In a class, 65% of the children are girls. What percent are boys? So you're either a boy or you're not a boy. And what we can say here is 65% are girls. What percent are boys? 35%. Because 65 plus 35 is 100, or 100 minus 65 leaves 35. So that's one basic understanding with percentages that does come into play that can be pretty important, because later on we're going to get problems which talk about going shopping. And in the shopping, it'll say something is on sale for 20% off, and then it'll tell you that you paid maybe $100 for it. It's really important to understand that if 20% was taken off, you still paid 80%. And when you fill the percent into the proportion, you're going to want to put 80, because that's the percent or the part that you paid. So even though the problem says 20% off, in your mind, you're converting to 80% paid. At least that's one way to do the problem, okay? All right, so here we go. We got a problem about a sled and a problem about an iPod. Let's do the first one. You give it a shot, and I'll go over the correct answers with you in a moment. Stop and start time. All right, so 5 is the... okay, so the 5 is a typo. It must be left from a previous one. But if you're getting 20% off, you know what it is? I know what that 5 is. The percent symbol is above the 5. And when I went to type in percent, I didn't hold down the shift key, I guess. So that's percent over 100 equals part over whole. And then if you're getting 20% off, what percent are you paying? You're paying 80%, okay? There are other ways to do this question, but I prefer to do it this way. If 20% is taken off, 80% is being paid. The original price was $79. What is the new cost? I don't know, so the n goes there. Cross multiplying, 100n equals 6,320, which is the product of 80 and 79. Dividing by 100, and you get $63.20. So that is the cost of the sled after the coupon. Now, had you done this the other way, if you had used 20%, you would come up with an answer, but then you would have to subtract that answer from 79, because the 20% represents the discount or how much you lost. If you do that, you'll still come up with 63.20. But by using 80% right away, because that's the percent that you pay, you don't need to worry about that additional step at the end. Okay? Next up, an iPod is on sale for $160. It originally cost $200. How much was the discount rate? Go ahead, give it a shot, and I'll put up the answer after you do your stop and start. Okay, this time I corrected the 5 in the 100 place with the percent symbol. N over 100 is equal to the part over the whole. So it says what percent, so you're going to put the N there. And the part that you pay is 160 out of the whole original cost, which is 200. Cross multiplying, 200N equals 16,000. and you pay 80%. So if you're going to pay 80%, then your discount is 20%. Okay. You could have also done this by saying, look, I'm saving $40. So instead of putting 160 in there, you could have put 40 in there. One way or another, you're going to have to do an additional step. Okay. Oh, this is showing you how to do it the other way, where you could have subtracted off with the $40 out of the 200, showing you what you saved. 200 is 4,000 dividing by 200, and I get 20%. So if you enter the discount up in here, you'll get the discount right away. If you enter the amount you paid, you'll get the new cost, and you'll give the percent that you paid, and you have to calculate the discount to be 20%. So you're either doing a little subtraction here at the end, 100 minus 80 is 20, or you're doing subtraction in the beginning and saying 200 minus 160 is 40. Either way, you will do a subtraction step. Okay, the last thing we want to talk about with percents is your percent of increase or decrease. We talked about this the other day and summarized what we discussed in this text box on the upper right. As far as percent increase and decrease go, it's percent over 100 equals the difference over the original. Now, I only explained this to you once, so I will explain it to you again. It should say part over whole, but the part is the difference. The change is the difference, okay? So I got to subtract to get difference. The word difference always means to subtract. So you do, I don't really care if you do bigger number minus smaller number, or if you do new number minus old number. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't make a difference. The bottom line is you've got to subtract. And then after that, you got to make sure that you put the original on the bottom, because this is taken out of the whole, and the whole is the original starting amount. After that, pretty much everything's the same as with every other percent problem, okay? So I'm going to walk you through the first one, and then we'll let you go through the next two without me. So percent over 100, because you want to find the percent here, so it's n over 100 equals. Now the difference, if I subtract 1917 minus 1877, I get 40 cents, 0.40. Always out of the original cost. I cannot emphasize this enough. It has to be out of the original cost. 1877. Cross multiply, 40, because 100 times 0.40 is 40, equals $18.77 or 18.77 in. Dividing, and I get 40 divided by 18.77 is a 2.13%. I just rounded to the nearest hundredth. On a quiz or a test, it'll tell you where to go to. And then you're going up, so you're increasing. So don't forget the I there for increase. Okay? All right, little stop and start time. You try number 11. Go ahead. All right, so let's see how you did on number 11. This is, all of these percent increase decreases, the end will always be in the percent place because that's what you're looking for. Now, what did this go up by? 72 minus 45 is 27. So the change, the difference is 27. Out of always the original amount, which is 45. Cross multiplying, I'm going to get 45n equals 2700. Dividing by 45, and I get 2700 divided by 45 is a 60% increase. Okay? And last but not least, number 12. And here we have a decrease at least. So you're not going to use an I, you're going to use a D. Go ahead, try number 12, and I'll give you the answer in just a moment. Okay, so percent over 100 equals difference over original or part over whole. The percent is N, that's what we're looking for, over 100. And again, the part is the difference. And in this case, it's changed by 27. It's gone from 45 to 18. That's a change of 27. That's the difference, 45 minus 18. And the original number is 45. Cross multiply. 2700 is 45n. Divide by 45. And I get 2700 divided by 45 is 60%. And you're going down, so it's a decrease. Some people use a negative in there for 27, and they'll just say it's a negative something percent answer. But I like to just go with the I's and the D's. Okay, it's pretty obvious then, increase or decrease. All right, so we have two more percent questions to go over. And this first one is two parts. It actually has what's the discount and then what's the sale price. Go ahead. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to do this where I find the actual discount because that's what they asked me first. So 25 over 100 equals n over 40, 40 being the whole original amount. But it's very important to remember that this n represents the discount. That's the key word over here, discount. So 100n equals 1,000, dividing, and I come up with n is equal to a $10 discount. And if the original price was $40 and I subtract the $10, I get $30. Okay? All right. I mean, pretty obviously, these are, sometimes students say, what will I use this stuff for in my life? And, you know, we went over the video of the guy lifting weights in ways that he would never seem to use in a football game, yet he uses them and they are important. And we talked about how this all builds mental muscles and it can be applied to whatever career you pursue. But this guy here, these percent problems, this is something that you will use constantly throughout your life on so many economic decisions that you're going to have to make. All right, next one up. You spend $52 on a suit jacket. That's a really cheap suit jacket. I don't mean it's poorly made. Don't get me wrong, but I can't think of the last time I paid $52 for a suit jacket. They're usually a couple of hundred. The original price was $80. How much was the discounted rate? Go ahead, figure it out. A little stop and start time. All right, so what was the percent, the discount? I don't know. So I put an n in the percent place out of 100. The 100 always stays there. And it was original price was 80, and then it said you spent 52. So the change is $28. It's 28 because 80 minus 52. And then the original price, always the original here. This is a percent of change question, like those three that we did a minute ago on the previous slide. 80n is 2,800, divide by 80, and I get that n is a 35% discount. All right, so that's a good set of questions about percents, and I hope you're growing very comfortable with percents, and that you can understand how to use them in any work that you might see in your future career, but also a little bit about how to use them just as a consumer in this world. All right, we got one more slide to go in this series.